Hebrews, Hebrews, Hebrews. This is Prophets of Awakening. This is our Israelite Advanced Bible Study night, Tuesday night, 29th of October, 2024. And the topic inside the class will be the wickedness of Edom. Okay. You can go to our YouTube channel to Prophets of Awakening. Check out our videos. We have over 1,000 or so videos that you can look at and examine. And these videos will lead you filled with a lot of information. And these videos will connect dots for you and lead you into the truth of the Holy Scripture. And if you like what you're hearing and receiving, I'm asking you to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. It'll be greatly appreciated. And for those who want to support the channel, we have our Cash App at the bottom of the screen. That too will be greatly appreciated. And our hours have kind of changed a little bit for the people that watch us weekly. We have our Prophets of Awakening. We have 3 channels. Prophets of Awakening. We have Israelite Wake Up, and we have Non-Messianic Conversation. Israelite Wake Up, when we live, is on Tuesday nights. When we have our Israelite Advanced Bible Study, then we have reading through the Tanakh on Tuesday nights. That too is on Prophets of Awakening from 7 to 9 Central Time. Then we have our Shabbat classes on Saturday, 1 in the morning from 10 to 12 a.m. Central Time. Then we close out the Shabbat at 6 to 7 in the evening. It's Central Time also. So if you people need to check us out during those times, it's be greatly appreciated. And then we have our women's line, which is Israel Wake Up. We go live on Thursday nights, 7 to 9 p.m. Central Time. And then we have a women's advanced Bible study on Sundays, 5 to 5. It starts at 5. Normally it's about an hour and a half. So hour and a half. Start at 5 p.m. Central Time on Sundays. And then we have our men's channel, which is Non-Messianic Conversations, and that's on Thursdays. We have our men's advanced Bible study on Thursday nights. It's from 7 to 9. So if you're trying to follow us or whatever, that's where we at. Those are the times that you can catch us live. Okay. So with that being said, Prophets of Awakening is a non-Messianic channel. We deal with the Tanakh and the Torah. Tanakh being the Old Testament, so-called Book of Remembrance, and the Torah is the first 5 books of the Old Testament that were given to Moses, our Redeemer, the Lord of hosts. Okay, it consists of our laws, our statutes, our judgments, our way of life, as Hebrew Israelites. Okay, shalom and welcome to this channel, and welcome to our Israelite Advanced Bible Study. We're gonna do our normal, which is a moment of silence. Okay. Prayer. We got a psalm to read, current events, to need to know information, and we'll open it up for some Q&A. Anybody have any questions or comments, dialogue? Then we'll go into our topic. Like I mentioned earlier, it's the wickedness of Edom. We'll be dealing with that, who Edom is and why it's so wicked. Okay, and then we'll go from there. So with that being said, this moment of silence is for the Lord of hosts, and all that he's doing to bring about our prophesied deliverance in these last days. Oh Lord, we come before thee at this time. We are thankful for the knowledge and the understanding that you have given unto us up until this point. When we seek thy face this day, that you shower us with peace and enlightenment and a source of togetherness. Oh Lord, we see thine hand in the affairs of the world, and we know and understand that what you have spoken in the past will surely come to pass. Turn not thy face from us at this hour, but hearken unto us, and hearken to our plea. Hearken, O Lord, and do. All praises unto you. Peace be unto you. Okay. So with that being said, we'll read the Psalms right quick. Okay. I'm gonna read Psalms 30. It's a thanksgiving for deliverance from death. It's a song of David. I will extol thee, O Lord, for thou hast lifted me up and hast not made my foes to rejoice over me. O Lord my God, I cried unto thee, and thou hast healed me. O Lord, thou hast brought up my soul from the grave, and thou hast kept me alive, that I should not go down into the pit. Sing unto the Lord, O ye saints of his, and give thanks at the remembrance of his holiness. For his anger endureth but a moment, and his favor is life. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy cometh in the morning. And in my prosperity I said, I should never be moved. Lord, by the favor, by thy favor, thou hast made my mountain to stand strong. Thou didst hide thy face, and I was troubled. I cried to thee, O Lord, and unto the Lord I made my supplications. What profit is there in my blood when I go down into the pit? Shall the just praise thee, and shall they declare thy truth? Hear, hear, O Lord, and have mercy upon me. Lord, be thou my helper. Thou hast turned for me my mourning into dancing, and thou hast put off my sackcloth and girded me with gladness, to the end that my glory may sing praises to thee, and not be silent. O Lord my God, I will give thanks unto thee forever. So that was Psalms 30. It's thanksgiving and deliverance from death. So I want to shine a light on this right quick because it's got a lot to do with it. So when David, I see twice in this Psalms, David said that it's about his soul that go down into the pit. Right? We already broke this down. It's when the angels came, slept with women, got giants on the earth. When that giant dies, that spirit goes down to hell, to Guyana, which was created for that very purpose, because those spirits that's in those giants didn't come from heaven. It's a mingled spirit. It came from fallen angels sleeping with a woman. But Hebrew Israelites also, it came from heaven. So you say, what are you talking about? Well, when he made Adam, he put a soul in Adam. He breathed the breath of life in Adam, he put a soul in Adam. So when that man or Adam's descendants or Adam or anybody from Adam passes away, that spirit ascends into heaven, back to where it came from. They always using the term uh, gathered unto their fathers, right? So that's what it's talking about. So that's that spirit when it passes away, is gathered unto his fathers, it goes back. That's what those seven angels for. They're assisting in that same spirit is brought to the body in the mother's womb when the baby is conceived and forming, and then that same spirit or that same soul is helped, guided back to where it came from, just like it was brought there. It's guided back to what these seven angels roles are part of their roles. They give them these souls. Okay, so it says in verse 2, O Lord, David talking. He says, O Lord, my God, I cried unto thee, and thou hast healed me. O Lord, thou hast brought my soul from the grave. Thou hast kept me alive. Thou shalt not go down, that I shall not go down into the pit. See that? That's down in Guyana, the hell, the soul. Because that's who you are, your soul. The body is just a covering, a jacket for you while you're here on earth. So, but you as a person is the soul. So David says, oh my God, in verse Psalms 30 and 2, O Lord my God, I cried unto thee, and thou hast healed me. Verse 3, O Lord, thou hast brought me my soul from the grave. Thou hast kept me alive, and I should not go down into the pit. Then he says, sing unto the Lord, O ye saints of his, and give thanks at the remembrance of his holiness. So we said, when you look at verse 3, David said he brought my soul from the grave, right? We go to 2 Samuel right quick, 23. Look at something quick. 2 Samuel 23. This is what David is talking about. Okay, so in 22, I mean, my bad. 2 Samuel 22 said David's song of deliverance. So we just read in Psalms 30 that he said, "O Lord, thou hast brought my soul from the grave." Right? That's what we're talking about. Psalm 22, David's song of deliverance. David spake unto the Lord the words of this song. Right? In the day that the Lord had delivered me from the hand of all his enemies and out of the hands of Saul, and he said, "The Lord is my rock and my fortress and my deliverer, the God of my rock, in him will I trust. He is my shield and my horn of my salvation and my high tower and my refuge and my savior. Thou savest me from violence." Then here you go. I will call on the Lord, who is worthy to be praised. So shall I be saved from my enemies. When the waves of death, when he passed away, the waves of death compassed me. Floods of ungodly men made me afraid. That's these giants, spiritual giants. He even left the body. 6, the sorrows of hell. That's Gehenna, where they wicked souls at. That's where they go, down into the pit. The sorrows of hell compassed me about. The snares of death prevented me. Right? In my distress, here you go. I called unto, it says, in my distress, I called upon the Lord and cried to my God. And he did hear my voice out of heaven, out of his temple. And my cry did enter into his ears. Then the earth shook and trembled. Foundations of heaven moved and shook because he was wroth. And there went up a smoke out of his nostrils, fire out of his mouth, devoured coals were kindled. He bowed the heavens also, came down, and darkness was under his feet. And he rode upon a cherubim, and he did fly, and he was seen upon the wings of the wind. And he made a darkness a pavilion round about him, dark waters, thick clouds of the sky, and through the brightness before him were coals of fire kindled. Then the Lord thundered from heaven, the Most High uttered his voice, and he sent out arrows and scattered these wicked spirits, lightning and discomfited them, and the channels of the sea appeared, and the foundations of the world were discovered at the rebuking of the Lord, as a blast of the breath of his nostrils. He sent from above, he took me, he drew me out of many waters. Then here you go, 18. He delivered me from my strong enemies, these wicked spirits, and from them that hated me, for they were too strong for me. And they prevented me in the day of my calamity, when he died. But the Lord was my stay. He brought me forth into a large place. He delivered me because he delighted in me. So that's what David's talking about. Psalm 30, right here. That's why he says in verse 4, sing unto the Lord, O ye saints of his, give thanks for the remembrance of his holiness, for his anger endureth but a moment. In his favor is life. Weeping may endure for all night, but joy cometh in the morning. Then he says, in my prosperity I said, I shall never be moved. The Lord, by thy favor, thou hast made my mountain to stand strong. Thou didst hide thy face, and I was troubled. I cried to thee, O Lord. See that? That's what he did in Psalm 20, in Psalm 2 Samuel 22. I cried unto thee, O Lord, and unto the Lord I made my supplication. What profit is there in my blood when I go down to the pit? Shall the dust praise thee? Shall it declare that the truth? Then he says, hear, O Lord, and have mercy upon me. Lord, be thou my help. Thou hast turned my, right here when he delivered him, thou hast turned my mourning into dancing. Thou hast put off my sackcloth and girded me with gladness, and to the ends that my glory may sing unto praises unto thee, and not be silent. O Lord my God, I will give thanks unto thee forever. So that's what he's referring to. Okay. Any comments, questions? Okay, we go to our current events. Okay.
Already preparing for a major threat ahead of the upcoming election, which is just 1 week away. Now, we're also hearing from U.S. intelligence that candidates, elected officials, the media, judges, election workers are all potential threats of an extremist attack very soon. I want to break down what's going on, what the White House did just last night that was conducted by many agencies, including the Capitol Police. So I'm going to show you a video clip in just a second. You may have heard of this, but I want to break down what's going on and why this is potentially extremely concerning just 1 week before the election. Again, timing is everything. So I'll break all this down in just a moment, but all I ask is one thing. It takes 2 seconds. Go ahead, hit that like button if you enjoy these daily updates. And now let's begin. So before I get to the video clip of what went down at the White House, I want to show you this. It says extremists inspired by conspiracy theories pose major threat to 2024 elections. It says U.S. intelligence warns. It says candidates, elected officials, election workers, members of the media, and judges involved in election cases are among those U.S. intelligence officials identified as targets. Now, we're going to get to this story in just a moment. But first, I want to show you what happened just last night. Look at this. It says, heads up, exercise on the grounds of the Capitol tonight, including low-flying helicopters. There were low-flying helicopters. There were actually 12 helicopters. These were all on the White House lawn. Now look at this. This is straight from the source itself, the U.S. Capitol Police. This says, and this was just from last night, says this evening, the United States Capitol Police and our federal partners are conducting a routine training exercise on the grounds of the U.S. Capitol. Please do not be alarmed if you see emergency vehicles and low-flying helicopters. Yeah, a lot of people were extremely concerned. And you probably would have been too if you were seeing this in person. This is what it looked like. 12 helicopters, all on the White House lawn. Now, what does this mean? Well, here's the thing. I talked to a few people just recently, in the past couple of hours, and asked them, how routine is this? Because when I looked at this, okay, I looked at this right here from the Capitol Police. It says the Capitol Police and our federal partners are conducting a routine training exercise on the grounds of the U.S. Capitol. Now, I asked, how routine is this? Because honestly, I haven't seen this. So how is this a routine training exercise? But yet we don't see this happen that often. Honestly, I can't remember the last time we saw, a dozen helicopters take off from the U.S. Capitol. Okay, what would they be doing there? This is what this person said. Now, I'm not going to say exactly what the person said because I think there were some things that maybe were somewhat secretive or were supposed to be confidential. But what he said was these things, these routine training exercises, they normally get brought up when there's a higher likelihood of needing to use them for whatever reason. If they're concerned that there's going to be an attack on the Capitol, for instance, then they would have a routine exercise, at the Capitol. If they were concerned about a specific city, they would conduct a routine exercise in that city. Now, one of the reasons why they do this, first off, they do it to be prepared in case there actually is some type of maybe a mass casualty event or some type of attack or what have you. They would do that to prepare in that.
Okay. Invest in lift aircraft.
Specific city, so they have the ideal training. The second reason why, and he was saying that this is probably more so the reason why they do it, is because if you can put this out there, and again, why would the U.S. Capitol Police put this out there, and they put it out there multiple times last night, that they're doing a training exercise. Why would they put this out there if they don't want people to know they're doing it? They wouldn't. But they would put it out there to potentially thwart off an attack or get people to realize, that they are doing additional patrols. They are doing training exercises. They're sending helicopters, whatever it may be. They do this so that people that are potentially going to threaten the area or maybe an attack, they look at this and like, maybe I shouldn't do that, because they're already preparing for something. What are they preparing for? And maybe that gets somebody to stop an attack or stop a potential threat. Yeah, that's what he was saying. Now, I want to read this. I want to read a little bit of this one right here to you, okay? Because again, these threats, these aren't anything new. We've been seeing these for some time. I want to read just a little bit. It says, in a joint intelligence bulletin that was not distributed publicly, but was reviewed by NBC News, agents from the FBI and the Department of Homeland Security warned state and local law enforcement agencies that domestic violent extremists seeking to terrorize and disrupt the vote are a threat to the election and throughout Inauguration Day. Again, it's a little bit of time, okay? The election was at November 5th. Inauguration Day in 2025 is actually going to be on Monday, January 20th, 2025. So again, we got from November 5th through January 20th. That is when we could see a potential threat. That's troubling. It says the report.
Any comments on that? Okay. Yeah, so like they said, they have an exercise. We know what that means. Every time they have exercise, there's always some drama that comes with it. So they had these 12 helicopters land on the White House, supposedly doing a simulated exercise in court, I guess in case they have to evacuate everybody out of the White House if something happens during the election. Okay. So with that being said, go to our next one. Okay. Okay.
Just 8 days away from the presidential election of 2024 here in the United States. And at this time, we are seeing that there are fires being set to drop boxes that are destroying hundreds of people's ballots. Yeah, that's what's happening at this time. Today, I want to show you the videos that we are just now seeing of one of these drop boxes on fire. They're pulling out ballots, again, on fire. But this was the concern and continues to be the concern moving forward. Again, we're just 1 week away from the election, and many experts are concerned We could see damaged ballots. We could see election tampering, and ballot tampering. So I'm going to bring what is going on, what you should be looking forward to over the next week, and what we should expect as well. So I'll break all this down in just a moment, but all I ask is one thing. It takes 2 seconds. Go ahead, hit that like button if you enjoy these daily updates. And now let's begin. So one of the benefits to living in the United States is we have freedom. We can vote. We can do many different things that you can't do in other countries. But this is where we draw the line. When people are trying to vote for whoever it is they want to win the upcoming election, maybe it's the president, maybe they're voting for the vice president, the senator, right? Their House of Representatives, right? That's what we are here for. Now, I want to show you this video. Just watch this and let me know your thoughts. What do you think about this?
Police say they don't know who did this. You can see in this video right here, the smoke coming out in the Vancouver incident. They know that there were hundreds of ballots that were in that drop box and that it involved ballots that were dropped off from 8 a.m. yesterday morning. The last pickup in the box was at 8 o'clock yesterday morning. And right now the FBI is responding. Police don't know, was this vandalism? Was it something more organized? They're investigating it, but just in the last couple of hours, the fire's breaking out.
So there we go. So you saw right there, the ballots were just on fire. People are trying to pull them out. Okay? They're pulling them out of the drop box. When you put your ballot into the drop box, you're expecting it's going to be safe. It will get to the right hands and they will count it. We don't know who voted. We don't know whose ballots these were that will not count. But what if this is just the beginning? Now, there's nothing that's saying that, okay, we're going to see hundreds or thousands of drop boxes around the United States tampered with. We don't know that. I'm not here to say that, oh, this is going to happen. But this is a concern. We're already seeing hundreds of ballots, okay, set on fire. But look at this. I want to show you some of these stories. It says ballot tampering investigation in Glacier County raises election integrity concerns. This story was just from yesterday. It says right here, this person was caught tampering with a ballot box. Now, how can we, and again, I don't know who's going to win. I don't know how close this election is going to be. We don't know any of that stuff. We're going to find out in a little bit over 1 week. And based off what experts are telling us, this election will likely be one of the closest ones we've had. And it's one of the biggest ones we will ever have. Now, I want to show you this one as well. This is an article from Newsweek. It says, FBI investigating fake video of ballots being destroyed in Pennsylvania. Yeah, this is part of the problem is we are going to see some of these stories are going to be fake. Other stories are going to be legit. There's going to be some merit behind it.
Okay. Anybody heard anything about that? Look like they're setting it all up.
Shalom, everyone. Yes, I've heard about it. About them, the drop boxes being on fire and how the people are, up in an uproar because who knows how many Democrats or how many Republicans, place their ballots to be counted. So to put them on fire is like a waste. They don't know. That could have been a full thing if it's a Republican doing it, a full thing of Republican votes. Or if a Democrat votes. It just seems so, it's so crazy because I remember before they was taking away the ballot boxes. They would not have the ballot boxes. They were closing, taking them away, moving all the mailboxes that you can drop off your mail off the streets. They were taking those away one election time. So yeah, just like it's like you said, they putting it all together. They setting it up. They're making it, it's on the roll now. Let's see where they're gonna go from here.
Exactly. Anybody else? Okay. So with that being said, tie your shoes up for this one. This is the doozy right here. Okay.
Dr. Stork before I said, my name is Samantha. What I'm
This is some need to know information.
fixing to show you may be very disturbing to some of you. I ask that you listen to me all the way through because this is 100% true. It is not fake. There is a book written about Baron Trump, and his dad is the last president of the Republic of the United States. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Starkey Farmstead. There was a rumor going around that there had been a book written about a young boy named Baron Trump, whose dad becomes the last president of the United States, the Republic of the United States. This book was reported to have been written sometime in the 1800s. So as usual, me, Samantha, went digging. Not only did I find the book, I bought the book. And today we're going to deep dive for the first time into this book. I can tell you what I found out about the author, whose name was Ingersoll Lockwood. From everything I found, yes, he was a Christian. Yes, he had a lot of work in government, everywhere from embassies to even being over a prison at one point. Now, I will share more about the author further into the video, so you're not going to want to turn it off, guys, because this is all very important. The reason I find this interesting is because President Trump's son is named Barron. And we have all heard rumors, prophecies, and words given by people saying that President Trump will legitimately be America, the Republic, the United States of America, the constitutional republic's very last president, right? I mean, if you're a Christian, if you're living in this day and age, you've heard somebody say that. So to have found a book that was published on this date over 100 and almost 30 years ago, talking about the last president of the United States in a trilogy with a young boy named Baron Trump, well, I couldn't pass it up. Now, whether you believe a time traveler wrote this, a demon, or somebody filled with the Holy Spirit, the fact is the book was written. And right now, together, I'm going to read some excerpts out of it, not much, because I believe if you want to read it, you need to purchase it. But I'm going to read some of the good stuff for you guys. Get ready, sit back, get something to drink, tell everybody to go away and give mom and dad a few minutes, because folks, this is amazing. Now I'm going to read for you some sections of this book because I think these are very important. Throughout the length and the breadth of the South and beyond the Great Divide, the news struck every hamlet and village like the glad tidings of a new evangel, almost as potent for human happiness as the heavenly message of 2,000 years ago. Bells rang out in joyful acclaim, and the very stars trembled at the telling over and over of what had been done for the poor man by his brethren of the north. And around the blazing pine knots of the southern cabin, and in front of the mining camps of the far west, the cry went up, "Silver is king! Silver is king!" Black palms and white were clasped in that strange love feast, and the dark-skinned grandchild no longer felt the sting of the lash on his sire's shoulder. All was peace and goodwill, for the people were at last victorious over their enemies who had taxed and tied them into a very living death. Now the laborer would not only be worthy of his hire, but it would be paid to him in a people's dollar for the people's good, and now the rich man's coffers would be made to yield up their ill-gotten gain. And the sun would look upon this broad and fair land and find no man without a market for the product of his labors. Henceforth, the rich man should, and was right and proper, pay a royal sum for the privilege of his happiness, and take the nation's taxes on his broad shoulders where they belong. Motley armies marched upon the capital of the Republic. The railway trains, night and day, brought vast crowds of new men, politicians of low degree, men out of employment, drunken and disgruntled mechanics, former sons to seek their fortunes under the reign of the people, healers and hangers-on of ward bosses, old men who had not tasted office for 30 years or more, all inspired by Mr. Bryan's declaration that the American people are not in favor of life tenure in the civil service, that a permanent office holding class is not in harmony with our institutions, that a fixed term and appointed offices would open the public service to a large number of citizens without impairing its efficiency. All bearing news in their hands or across their shoulders, each and every one of them supremely confident that in the distribution of the spoils, something would surely fall to his share, since they were the common people who were so dear to Mr. Bryan and who had made him president.
Okay.
Seniors, if you were born
a prodigious opposition of the rich men, whose coffers had been thrown wide open all to no purpose, and in spite, too, of the satanic and truly devilish power of that hell upon earth known as Wall Street, which had sweated gold in vain in its desperate efforts to fasten the chains of trust and the claws of soulless monsters known as corporation upon these very common people, soon to march in triumph before the silver chariot of the young conqueror from the West. The inaugural address was not a disappointment to those who had come to hear it. It was like the man who delivered it, bold, outspoken, unmistakable in its terms, promising much, impatient of precedent, reckless of results, a double confirmation that this was to be the reign of the common people. That much should be unmade and much made over. And no matter how the rich man might cry out in anger or amazement, the nation must march on to the fulfillment of a higher and nobler mission than the impoverishment and degradation of the millions for the enrichment and elevation of the few. Then he threw himself into a chair and, seizing a sheet of official paper, penned the following order and directed its immediate promulgation. Executive Mansion, Washington, D.C., March 4th, 1897, Executive Order Number 1. In order that there may be immediate relief in the terrible financial depression now weighing upon our beloved country, consequent upon and resulting from the unlawful combination of capitalists and money lenders both in this republic and in England, and that the ruinous and inevitable progress toward a universal gold standard may be stayed, the President orders and directs the immediate abandonment of the so-called gold reserve, and that on and after the promulgation of this order, the gold and silver standard of the Constitution be resumed and strictly maintained in all the business transactions of this government. It was 2:00 in the afternoon when the news of this now world-famous executive order was flashed into the great banking centers of the country. Its effect in Wall Street beggars description. On the floor of the stock exchange, men yelled and shrieked like painted savages, and in their mad struggles tore and trampled each other. Many dropped in fainting fits or fell exhausted from their wild and senseless efforts to say what none would listen to. Ashen pallor crept over the faces of some, while the blood threatened to burst the swollen arteries that spread in purple network over their brows of others. When silence came at last, it was silence broken by sobs and groans. Some wept, while others stood dumbstruck, as if it was all a bad dream, and they were awaiting the return of their poor, distraught senses to set them right again. Ambulances were hastily summoned, and fainting and exhausted forms were borne through the hushed and whispering masses wedged into Wall Street, to be whirled away uptown to their residences, there to come into full possession of their senses, only to cry out in their anguish that ruin, black ruin, stared them in the face if this news from Washington should prove true. So he's basically saying in this book that the first executive order of this president, in this book, right, would be to actually back the United States dollar with gold or silver, making it an actual weighted currency, ending the New World Order, going over to a digital currency. because our paper, money's worthless. It's not backed by anything anymore. Could you imagine if Trump did this? What Wall Street would happen there? Could you imagine how quickly the rich would lose their wealth? Let that sink in, folks. The first act to pass both houses and receive the signature of the president was an act repealing the Act of 1873 and opening the mint of the United States to the free coinage of silver at the ratio of 16:1 with gold, and establishing branch mint in the cities of Denver, Omaha, Chicago, Kansas City, Spokane, Los Angeles, Charleston, and Mobile. The announcement that reparation had thus been made to the people for the crime of 1873 was received with loud cheering on the floors and in the galleries of both houses. And the great North heard these cheers and trembled.
This is how I get paid a full-time income working from home using.
Okay, what you think so far?
Shalom, everyone. I think that that book is very important. I watched that video maybe last week or a couple of weeks ago. I was watching her, and there's a part 2 that she done also. So when we think about it, Elon Musk is also involved with Trump a lot, right? So I'm like her. I dig a little bit. So there was a book that was wrote, I think in the 50s. Don't quote me. I think it was the 50s that the guy used Elon's name in the book concerning Mars, him bringing humans to Mars, right? And we know he's trying to do all of this stuff. So I just really think that no matter which way it goes, this is going to be the last election. And I think these books really, really tells us a lot. When we start digging and doing research, like they said it was going to be a woman president. Look, there's a woman president. You know what I'm saying? Vice president running for president. So there's a lot of things they know that we don't know. So I just look at it as this is going to be the last election, whether Trump wins or Harris wins.
Okay.
We the people, says my shirt, right? So it's so cool, guys. And then it goes on to say, when a Republican member of the House arose to move the usual adjournment for the holidays, there was a storm of hisses and cries of "No, no," said the leader of the House amid deafening applause. "We are the servants of the people. Our work is not yet complete. There must be no play for us while coal barons stand with their feet on the ashes of the poor man's hearthstones, and weeds and thorns cumber the fields of the farmer for lack of money to buy seed and implements. There must be no play for us while railway magnates press from the pockets of the laboring man 6 and 8% return on thrice watered stocks. And the landlords, enriched by inheritance, grind the faces of the poor. There must be no play for us while enemies of humankind are by means of trust and combination and corners, engaged in drawing their unholy millions from the very lifeblood of the nation. To stifle, suppress, or in any way interfere with full, open, and fair competition in trade and manufacturing among the states. You guys, I would vote for any president that would do just a little bit I've talked about. Look, we're going to keep going, but it's time for me to feed my husband. It's been a long day, and it's my 3rd video today, guys. I love you. Let me tell you something. If the Holy Spirit has been telling you to do something, whether it's write a book, write a poem, open up a YouTube, start a garden, get out of debt, marry your girlfriend, whatever it is, friends, obedience is better than sacrifice. This gentleman wrote this book. He didn't know that in 2024, a Southeast Louisiana woman would be sitting in her home on September 18th, 2024, reading it to 51,000 people. He didn't know that a young man named Barron Trump, his daddy, would be running for president of the United States. He didn't know any of that.
Okay. Get this on. Okay. So with that being said, we're gonna open it up for some Q&A. Anybody have any questions or comments about anything they want to talk about? Before we go into our lesson? Okay, nobody have nothing?
No, sir. No.
Okay, the topic inside the class is the wickedness of Edom, right? So what I'm gonna do is pay that first. So the wickedness of Esau, which Edom is Esau, in case you didn't know, and Esau is Rome. They're all synonymous. So let's look at that right quick. The wickedness of Esau, the Jacob's brother. Deal with that first. Okay.
Edom represents a bloodline with a fierce and rebellious spirit. This bloodline, which opposes Yahuwah and his chosen people, holds the ambition of ruling over the people of all nations. The scriptures highlight Edom's prominent role in end-time events, linking their actions, power, and desire to rule to their final judgment. This video will delve into the ancient and modern wars fought by Edom. It will cover the inherent wickedness in their bloodline and Yahuwah's ultimate judgment against them. Edom's unending wars. From the womb, two nations were destined for strife. But how has this ancient conflict endured through the ages? Edom's involvement in warfare has ancient roots, spanning from biblical conflicts with Israel to their continued role in global power struggles today. The descendants of Esau, also known as Edom, have a history of clashing with the Israelites, beginning with the story of Esau and Jacob, two brothers destined to father nations that would continuously struggle. Throughout history, Edomites have engaged in wars, often characterized by aggression and a desire for dominance. Modern interpretations see Edom as powerful ruling entities who seek to extend their influence through force and conflict. The combative spirit of Edom's bloodline is very apparent. It persists across generations, reflecting in global conflicts over resources, power, and influence, affecting entire populations and nations. In Numbers 24 verses 18 to 19, it tells us this. Edom shall be a possession, Seir also, his enemies, shall be a possession, while Israel does valiantly. And out of Jacob one shall have dominion. Psalm 137 verse 7 reads like this. Remember, O Yahuwah, against the sons of Edom, the day of Jerusalem, who said, raise it to its very foundation. The wickedness of Edom's bloodline. Pride runs extremely deep within Edom's lineage, clearly marking them as the people who turn hearts away from Yahuwah and his righteousness. How far has their influence spread? Edom's bloodline has an ancient spirit of rebellion and defiance against Yahuwah. The Bible depicts them as the wicked, the proud, those willing to deceive and destroy whole nations and people for their gain. Ezekiel 35 verses 5 to 6 describes Edom's perpetual hatred for the Israelites, illustrating their violent intent and disregard for Yahuwah's chosen people. This spirit of hatred and pride persists in modern nations associated with Edom, which continue to exploit, oppress, and create discord amongst the nations.
So he said associated with Edom. When you go back and you do the history, do your research, you find out that the last two beasts, out of the four beasts that Daniel was explained to us, was Greeks, which is Javan in Genesis chapter 10, and then Chechem, which is the Romans, where Esau intermingled with both of those nations. Alexander the Great is a part of that. His dad is Zephno. His granddad is Zephno. When he fled Egypt from Joseph, he went to Greece. So that's who Alexander's grandfather is Zephno. Zephno had Philip. Philip had Alexander. And then we know that Esau, Chechem, the Romans went subdued the Edomites at Mount Seir, and they became one nation from that day forward. So Rome is Edom. And third beast is also Edom, tied to them. So that's why it's saying the time of the Gentiles. That's the third and the fourth beast.
Beyond physical conflict, Edom's wickedness is reflected in societal norms, cultural values, and economic systems that challenge Yahuwah's commandments, encouraging rebellion, materialism, and unrighteousness. This bloodline represents those who divert others from Yahuwah's truth, impacting the world on a profound level. In Malachi 1 verse 4, it reads like this: Even though Edom has said, "We have been impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places," thus says Yahuwah of hosts, "They may build, but I will throw down." Isaiah 34 verses 5 to 6 tells us this: For my sword shall be bathed in heaven, indeed it shall come down on Edom, for Yahuwah has a sacrifice in Bozrah. The judgment of Yahuwah against Edom. Their pride has led them high, but the Most High will bring them down. How complete will their downfall be? The scriptures declare that Edom will face judgment for their wickedness. Obadiah 1 verses 3 to 4 describes their arrogance and their descent, and it reads like this: The pride of your heart has deceived you. Though you ascend as high as the eagle, I will bring you down. Their power and influence are temporary, for Yahuwah, who sees their deeds, has marked them for judgment. This divine judgment will bring Edom low, ending their rebellion and oppression. Prophecies like Isaiah 34 verses 5 to 6 describe a great sacrifice in Bozrah, the capital of Edom, where Yahuwah's wrath will be poured out. Their judgment is integral to restoring justice and order on earth. In Isaiah 63 verses 1 to 4, it says this: Who is this who comes from Edom, with dyed garments from Bozrah? For the day of vengeance is in my heart. Jeremiah 49 verses 17 to 18 tells us this: Edom also shall be a desolation, as in the overthrow of Sodom and Gomorrah. No one shall reside there.
Okay.
At Viber, what?
Origin of Edom's rebellion. Before they were nations, they were brothers. How did the strife of Jacob and Esau birth an unending enmity? The rebellious nature of Edom traces back to Esau, who despised his birthright and created a lineage at odds with Yahuwah's chosen. Genesis 25 verse 23 foretells this tension between Jacob and Esau, foreshadowing the enmity between their nations. Hebrews 12 verses 16 to 17 warns against Esau's bitterness and rebellion. This prophecy resonates across generations as Edom's bloodline persists in opposing the covenant of the Israelites. Genesis 27 verse 41 tells us this: So Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing with which his father blessed him. I will kill my brother Jacob. Romans 9 verse 13 reads like, made drunk with the wine of her fornication. In Daniel 2 verse 44, it says this: And in the days of these kings, the Elohim of heaven will set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed. The prophecy of Edom's destruction. Marked for judgment, Edom's pride will be their undoing. How will Yahuwah's retribution unfold? The scriptures warn that Yahuwah has appointed a time for Edom's downfall. Isaiah 63 verses 1 to 4 describes Yahuwah returning from Edom with garments stained in blood, symbolizing the final judgment upon Edom's violent legacy. This prophecy in Isaiah and Obadiah indicates that Edom's pride and wickedness will lead to their swift and devastating end, clearing the...
So we're looking at that right now. Everybody is talking about this and talking about that. These people are hard-headed. No, they're telling you right here. It's their pride. That's what's stopping them. Same with the Pharaoh. It's what's stopping them from looking at what they've done and coming back and fixing what they've done. They're letting their pride stop them, which is going to be their demise. That's why you're not trying to get on reparations. They think that's a joke. So it's pride that's causing them not to see it. Any comments on that? Okay. Yeah. So understand. understanding, so many people think that, you know, they have their local pastors and the rabbis and all them telling them that Esau came to an end in the book of Obadiah, but that's so far from the truth. So the world been duped that Esau came to an end, when actuality is it's all kind of prophecies about Esau in the end times. And then bigger than that, Esau is the ones that's over in the land of Israel today, posing as Israelites. You want to let this run.
Zionist history, culture, Jewish identity is all contrived. It's synthetic, it's artificial. People sat down, and they still do today. There are think tanks, JPPI and various others like that. And I think, how could we further advance Zionism? How could we change the story? How could we better the story? How could we progress? How could we get more followers? And one of the things they did was they wanted to make Jews appear as if they are organically connected to the Holy Land, but not from a religious perspective, not from a spiritual perspective, not from a God-centric perspective, rather from a national perspective.
What's up, family? This is your man, not your boy, bringing you another gold nugget that you can either pick up or you can just kick it aside. Yeah, I'm here in Brazil, in Sao Paulo, but I want to bring you all this video because here it is as a rabbi, Jewish rabbi, who is exposing the whole intentions of the Zionists, Netanyahu, who they have stolen the identity of what a Jew is. That they have also created this state of Israel by taking people's land, as well as stealing identities from those who are Jews. And yet we see the lie that has been presented to the world by the Zionists. Enjoy the video and add this to your library.
Today's guest is Rabbi Yaakov Shapiro, an international speaker, author, and rabbi for over 30 years. He's a well-known critic of Zionism, and his most recent work, The Empty Wagon, Zionism's Journey from Identity Crisis to Identity Theft, is a 1,381-page treatise on the differences between Judaism and Zionism.
Zionism itself was created as a substitute for Judaism, a replacement for Judaism, and a way to negate Judaism.
Yeah, so that takes us to our first question. What is a Jew?
Zionists are unable to answer because they negated the real definition. When I say the real definition, I mean the only intellectually consistent one. Being a Jew, in the most accurate way to describe it, is a job description given by God. God said, you are deputized into this religion, you are obligated to fulfill these commandments, whether you do them or not. The obligation, the job description, defines you as a Jew. Now, the Zionists didn't want this definition of Jew. The Zionist plan was to change, to end anti-Semitism by changing Semitism as far as Jews are concerned, by eliminating that. The problem with the original plan, assimilation, is that it didn't work. In the late 1800s, there were pogroms, primarily in Russia, which showed the Zionists, or the assimilated Jews actually, that assimilated Jews are still Jews and they're still hated. But now that's where the identity crisis comes in. The subtitle of my book is Zionism's Journey from Identity Crisis to Identity Theft. The Zionists didn't understand this. They were thinking, why do people hate us if we're just like the Gentiles? We're just regular Russians. Why do they look at us as Jews? And that's a very good question. And I once asked an anti-Semite, a real famous, I don't want to say his name, a real famous anti-Semite, how do you decide who's a Jew? He says, well, whoever identifies as a Jew is Jewish. The Zionists had said to themselves, hey, we don't want to be Jews, but the Gentiles won't let us be Gentiles. So what are we? That was the identity crisis. And many scholars have used that phrase in various contexts. It was an identity crisis. So they came up with what I call identity theft. We're going to change the definition of Jew. The nationalism was just starting in those days. This was the 1800s. It was the Balkan people and others. nation states started being formed in those days. And they said, hey, nationalism worked for so many people, let it work for the Jews as well. So we're going to change the definition of Jew to a nationality. Until the Zionists, nobody.
Yeah, they're good at changing things. You shouldn't be surprised.
Looked at the Jews as a nationality. The plan was to change the definition of a Jew to a nationality. And the idea was that once the Jews change their definition, the way they look at themselves, the world will change the way they look at the Jews as well. The Jews will also, by changing the way they look at themselves, change their personalities, change their ideology, change the way they act, the way they behave, and change their aspirations and their values. Whereas previously, Jews were, as the Bible describes it, Mamlechas Kaihanim B'Goy Kodosh, which means a people who are enjoined by God to fulfill this religion. And the Jews themselves, about 1,000 years ago, were the ones that suggested they live in ghettos. They wanted to be separate, socially and culturally separate from the rest of society, loyal to the countries that they live, absolutely, but culturally and socially separate, because we have our own laws, we have our own lifestyle, and they were. There were assimilated Jews that didn't like that, and when they had a chance to break out of the ghetto, they did, thinking, as I mentioned, that assimilation is going to end anti-Semitism and they're going to be like everybody else. When they saw that didn't work, then they tried nationalism. Nationalism is another name for Zionism, Jewish nationalism. That's all Zionism is. But the thing to know about Zionism is that whereas the Kurds, for example, look at themselves as a nationality and they're trying to find a state, right? The Jews never did. The Zionists had to convince the Jews that you are not what you think you are. You are not the Mamlechas Kaihanim V'Goy Kodosh. You are not a people who are enjoined by God to fulfill this religion, these religious laws. You are a nation. You need a language. You need a flag. You need a country. Because Jews didn't share a language for 2,000 years. More than for thousands of years we hadn't spoken Hebrew. In biblical times they did, but that wasn't the national language of the Jewish people, meaning that's not what united us into being a people. The only thing that united us into being a people is our Torah, our faith. It was so well known that this quote that we are only a people because of our faith, it's over 1,000 years old, and it was like the meme of Jewish identity. Even Theodore Herzl mentions it in his diary. Everybody knew that. The Zionists had to change that. And because Jews had no flag, they had no common language, culture, or land, the Zionists had to provide them with it. The Zionists set out to synthesize a new nationality. But instead of creating a new nationality out of nothing, Herzl stand and we'll call
like
ourselves
the Canism that you refer to.
I've been receiving checks from Charles Schwab on a weekly basis. Is find a trend. And regardless if the market is going up or down, I get the checks. The best part, this can be done 23 hours a day.
The Canaanim, yes. So, yes, very good. There was this small group of kind of like Zionists called the Canaanim that decided to create a new nation. The Canaan is named after the people who were occupying, who were living in the Holy Land before Joshua came in there and conquered it. And they decided, okay, we're gonna make a new nationality. We're the Canaanim. It didn't never hit it off, because why would anybody identify with that? So the Zionists, Theodore Herzl mostly had this brilliant idea. You know, if you want to take if you want to change your identity, witness protection program or something, you can get the government to give you a whole new identity, and that'll work. But there's a lot of resources and time and effort spent to create such. There's another way to do it that's easier. Kill somebody that's around your age, steal his papers, steal his birth certificate, steal his license, steal his identity, and you're him. That's what the Zionists did to the Jews collectively. We're going to erase Jewish identity. We're going to take their history, change it a bit. We're going to take their identity. We're going to take their self-image. We're going to take Jewishness, and we're going to make it into Zionism. We're going to get the Jews a flag. There was a Zionist flag before there was a state of Israel. We're going to get the Jews a language. There was a Zionist language. Modern Hebrew was created by the Zionists before there was a state of Israel, because the fulfillment of Judaism than we do today. And then came the idol worshippers, and God said, as it says in the Bible, if you worship idols, God is going to kick you out of the land. And in fact, we say that passage 3 times a day in our prayers. And God did that. And we went back once and we got kicked out again. It was because of our sins. Yes, the Romans were the rod of God's wrath.
Okay. Any comments on that? We got anything out of that? No questions, no comments on that? So if you didn't understand that, he's Jewish, it's not Israelites. So they somewhat have some of our ways, but they stole the land back in 143 BC, and they was kicked out in 143 BC, came back in 1948. So he's under the assumption that the Zionists stole their religion, but before the Zionists came, they stole Israel's religion. So it's like Shrek said in the movie Shrek, it's layers. You uncover one layer and you think you got the truth, but it's layers on top of layers. You have to understand what has happened to us as a people, as our identity. And like I said before, they have you thinking that Esau was done away with back in the book of Obadiah. But it's so far from the truth. It's, no, that's a judgment on Esau in the last days. It's not that Esau been done away with. He's telling you that in the latter days, when he judge Esau, it's when Israel is gonna return to his homeland and fully coming back into his inheritance. When Esau gets judged, these people that's over there now, posing as Israelites. Any questions or comments before we go? Okay. So with that being said, I'm gonna say shalom, shalom, and another shalom. I'll see y'all tomorrow for our reading to the Tanakh. Okay. Shalom.
Shalom, everyone.